Fox 12 Investigates team has followed the concerns of neighbors facing a problem they say defies common sense: the distribution of needles and pipes to drug users in a Northwest Portland school zone.
The organizations behind the outreach say that their goal is to reduce harm. The neighbors say the exact opposite is happening, and the repeated efforts to address the situation have been essentially ignored.
But tonight, just days after our most recent story aired, there's been a breakthrough. They've tried to make their voices heard for months.
They come into our neighborhood, they pour gasoline on a fire, and the fire gets worse.
Neighbors and parents who can't understand why two outreach organizations would insist on giving away drug supplies inside a school zone at Northwest 19th and Cooch. They've spent countless hours documenting the weekly aftermath: the drug dealers who swarm the neighborhood after the outreach workers leave, the families with young children trying to navigate a narcotics dumping ground. They've tried repeatedly to get someone in charge to address the problem, but nothing has changed. We also tried to get answers by joining the weekly lineup and taking the neighbors' concerns directly to those distributing the supplies.
They feel like their voices aren't being heard. Do you understand that maybe it's creating harm for them?
We are a harm reduction organization, so our main goal is to make things more safe for the people that we serve.
Okay, but do you think that it's reasonable for them to ask that maybe you move a few blocks away into an area that's not residential, where children aren't going to be walking here, on Monday and Tuesday, walking around people who are passed out in the street?
I mean, we hand out supplies where there is a need, and there is a need in this neighborhood.
It seems like the need is coming to you.
We've been doing it in the same spot for about 10 years.
But that doesn't make it right.
Same time, same night.
But that doesn't make it right, does it?
We have different definitions of what is right and wrong.
But now there's a breakthrough to report. Newly elected District Attorney Nathan Vasquez saw our story last week and says he's seen enough.
Quite frankly, I was outraged. I saw neighbors and people who just simply, wanted some very basic courtesies and some basic answers. What I saw in that reporting is something that deeply concerns me in our community right now.
Vasquez says his entire office was outraged by what they saw and is launching a targeted enforcement campaign on the neighborhood with Portland police.
If people want to hand out foil and straws, we'll arrest people that are going to deal drugs.
And he wants those who break the law to know they will be prosecuted and that there are increased penalties for dealing drugs in a school zone.
So, cautious encouragement, maybe?
Cautious encouragement. We've been cautious this whole time.
Neighbor Michelle Milla was the first person the DA's office contacted this week after our story aired. She's helped to organize the concerned neighbors, writing letters and testifying before local leaders. She says hearing directly from the DA's office was a long-awaited and welcome development.
It felt like someone had just kind of thrown a little bit of a hope on a rope at us. When you've been knocking at the door and the door hasn't been opening for so long, it feels good to have some attention on this.
She's also relieved to hear the DA's office is finally pursuing an investigation into the masked activists who targeted her with an intimidation campaign last fall simply because she spoke up.
I did not know this.
Michelle, take care.
That was calculated. They were on camera pacing in front of my house before I was even outside. And since then, we've received, some veiled threats through anonymous emails and text messages and phone calls.
That particular piece, that upset me. And no person should be harassed or threatened in any manner. And if we can identify people that are engaged in threatening behavior towards neighbors, we will be seeking criminal charges on those people.
As for the outreach effort itself, Vasquez says he'll ask the county some tough questions about the two organizations involved. Meanwhile, Michelle says she's grateful for the support of the coalition of concerned neighbors and grateful someone is finally listening to their story and actually trying to do something about it.
And we appreciate the work that you've done and the tough questions that you have all asked. That's certainly been a moment that has pivoted this forward this week and over these months.
That said, she knows the work to stop this is far from over. Now, once again, we've reached out multiple times to both outreach organizations. Back in October, Portland Street Medicine and the Portland People's Outreach Project sent us statements saying that they looked forward to continuing the conversation. But the neighbors say they've heard nothing. And we also sent multiple requests for an interview, but have not heard back.